President Trump is in Vietnam for a second summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong Un. The U.S. wants the Korean peninsula to denuclearize, something it didn't do despite supposedly committing to do so during last year's summit. North Korea, meanwhile, wants the U.S. to lift sanctions, among other concessions. CBS News' Nicole Killian has more on the upcoming talks.
Two columns of soldiers and Vietnamese government officials greeted President Trump as he stepped off Air Force One in Hanoi. The president's motorcade headed straight to his hotel, passing thousands of onlookers who lined the route. "Just arrived in Vietnam," he tweeted. "Thank you to all of the people for the great reception in Hanoi. Tremendous crowds and so much love." North Korean leader Kim Jong Un arrived in Hanoi earlier in the day following a 60-hour train ride from Pyongyang. Security is tight at the hotel where the normally reclusive dictator is staying. Journalists who planned to work in the hotel were moved out, and a bellman tells CBS News the North Koreans brought all of Kim Jong Un's food, cooking supplies, and even the utensils he'll use to eat. The two leaders will have a one-on-one meeting and share dinner tomorrow, then hold formal talks on Thursday. Before leaving Washington, President Trump said sanctions on North Korea are still on, but he suggested he may be willing to ease them if North Korea takes meaningful steps.
We want denuclearization, and I think he'll have a country that will set a lot of records for speed in terms of an economy.
Lawmakers from the president's own party are skeptical.
Are you optimistic about the North Korea summit?
No, I'm not. I don't think Kim Jong Un is ever going to get rid of nuclear weapons.
Congressional approval will be needed to roll back some of the sanctions in place. Nicole Killian, CBS News, the White House.
Ambassador Joseph DeTrani joins me now from Washington. He's the former director of the National Counter-Proliferation Center, a former special envoy for six-party talks with North Korea, and a cipher brief expert. Ambassador DeTrani, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Are there any signs that this summit might actually lead to denuclearization?
Tanya, I don't think that Kim Jong Un would have proposed and would now appear in Hanoi if he wasn't confident that he could get some progress in the relationship with the U.S. Look, North Korea wants a normal relationship with the United States. This is something they've been asking for certainly since 2003. And with that, he will basically have an opportunity to deal with the international community. It will make a big difference economically for the country. So he needs this relationship with the United States. So yes, I think Kim Jong Un is prepared to do business with President Donald Trump when he meets with him in Hanoi the next 2 days.
So what concrete steps, then, do you believe the U.S. must put on the table to lead toward North Korean denuclearization?
You know, I think the first thing is North Korea needs to understand, and I think they do understand, what we mean by complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. We mean complete, verifiable, irreversible dismantlement of all nuclear weapons and nuclear weapons facilities with a very robust verification regime. North Korea knows this. I think what President Donald Trump needs to hear from Kim Jong Un is they agree to that. Kim Jong Un agrees to that, knowing that in return, eventually, there will be normal relations with the United States. Obviously, this is going to be a process. And in that process, there could be a peace treaty. Certainly, that would be likely, most likely, on the Korean Peninsula. So these are deliverables for Kim Jong Un. But the key issue here is he needs to commit to complete verifiable dismantlement of all weapons and facilities. And I might add this also, Tanya. They need to stop producing fissile material for nuclear weapons. And they need to give an immediate deliverable to the president, in addition to a commitment to a long-term dismantlement. It could be Yongbyon, where they'll dismantle and disable it with monitors there or something. And then we would have to respond with actions in an actions for actions way, whether it's a liaison office, whether it's a declaration for a peace treaty. But I think he wouldn't be in Hanoi now if Kim Jong Un didn't think he was prepared to deal with President Donald Trump.
And we did get a commitment last year that North Korea was committed to denuclearizing.
Right.
Don't we need, though, to be able to have some way of verifying this, of having inspectors in the country?
Absolutely. Good question. Absolutely. And that was the reason it failed in 2008 with the six-party talks. We had an agreement with them, and it failed exactly on the point that you mentioned. They were not prepared to have monitors, if you will, nuclear monitors, leave declared sites and visit non-declared suspect nuclear sites. In this case, absolutely. Everything committed by North Korea needs to be verified in a very meaningful way, to include monitors visiting non-declared suspect nuclear sites.
So at this point, since we haven't quite reached that stage, should the U.S. give any concessions to North Korea, such as lifting any sanctions, before we actually have some of those inspectors in the country?
Well, you know, Tanya, we have given a number of concessions to North Korea. I mean, I think the president meeting with Kim Jong Un, this was a major move. The first time a sitting president met with a leader from North Korea. So, and then the president, you know, and I'm supportive of that. I think he halted the joint military exercises with the South. I think these were confidence building measures on the part of Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, to Kim Jong Un. I think now we need to see an element of reciprocity from North Korea, where they actually put things on the table and move. So yes, stopping the production of fissile material, making Yongbyon one of the sites where there could be verified dismantlement and disablement of the facility. Yes, I think these are things that could be done. Could the U.S. give something in return? I think we will probably have to in an action-for-action sense, and that could be, you mentioned sanctions, that could be workarounds, some of those UN Security Council resolution sanctions. It could also be a declaration that eventually we'll have a peace treaty, eventually we'll have normal relations, and we could initially have a liaison office in the respective capitals. So yes, we could actually give even more to North Korea, but the core issue is denuclearization, complete, verifiable. And that's with North Korea. And then they have to give us something that could be implemented. And obviously, we need a roadmap, because we need to know what's the final objective here, and that's complete denuclearization. So our lead negotiators are going to have to be meeting routinely 24/7 to come up with a roadmap that eventually lends itself to complete verifiable dismantlement. And in return, whatever we've committed to North Korea, whether that's normalization of relations, the lifting of all sanctions, et cetera.
Step by step. All right, Ambassador Joseph DeTrani, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you.